The ship was dying. Ambassador held tight to the metal bar above her head. The whole ship was shaking. Red lights were flashing everywhere. Alarms screamed so loud she could not hear herself think. She was tall even for her people. Her skin was soft lavender, like the flowers that once grew on her home world. She had 4 arms, and right now all 4 of them were holding on for life. "We are falling," shouted the pilot. His name was, and he was young and scared. "The engines are gone, I cannot stop us." Looked at the screen in front of them. A blue planet was getting bigger and bigger. They were going to crash into it. This was not supposed to happen. They had been running from the Dominion for 3 months. 3 months of hiding, of jumping from star to star, of watching other ships full of her people get destroyed. They had no weapons. They had never needed weapons. For 10,000 years they had lived in peace. Then the Dominion came. The Dominion was an empire that took what it wanted. They wanted slaves. They wanted workers. They wanted them to build their ships and grow their food and die in their mines. So they ran. Now, after all that running, they were going to die on a planet that was not even in their maps. "Everyone hold on," screamed. The ship hit the air of the planet. Fire covered the windows. The ship spun and shook like a toy, heard people screaming behind her. She heard children crying. She closed her eyes and thought of her home, the purple trees, the silver rivers, the songs her mother used to sing. Then everything went dark. When opened her eyes, she was lying on the floor. Her head hurt. Her arm hurt more. She looked at it and saw silver blood running down to her hand. That was bad. Smoke was everywhere. She could hear crying and coughing. The ship had stopped moving. She pulled herself up slowly. Her 4 arms were shaking, but she made herself stand. "Is anyone alive?" she called out. Voices answered her, some strong, some weak, but they answered. Moved through the broken ship. She helped people stand. She told them to help others. She counted them as she went. 612. Out of 800, only 612 were still alive. Almost 200 of her people were dead. She wanted to cry. She wanted to fall down and give up. But she was the ambassador. She had to be strong. "We need to get outside," she told them. "We need to see where we are." The door of the ship was bent and broken. It took 10 pushing together to force it open. Cold air rushed in. It smelled strange but clean. Stepped outside first. They had crashed in mountains. Tall trees covered in white stuff surrounded them. The sky was dark, full of stars she did not know. 2 moons hung in the sky. No, wait. 1 moon. The other bright circle was something else. It was cold, very cold. Her people started to shake. "What do we do now?" asked. His face was covered in silver blood, but he was alive. Did not know what to say. They had no food, no medicine, no way to call for help. They did not even know what planet this was. Then she saw lights. Through the trees coming up the mountain she could see small lights moving, many of them coming closer. "Someone is coming," she said. Fear spread through her people. The Dominion, had they followed them here? "Everyone stay behind me," ordered. She had no weapon, but she stood in front of her people anyway. The lights got closer. She could hear sounds now, voices talking in a language she did not understand, the crunch of feet on the white stuff on the ground. Then she saw them. They were short, much shorter than, they had only 2 arms. Their skin was brown and pink. They wore green clothes and carried weapons that looked dangerous. Humans, that was what they were called, though did not know this yet. She counted maybe 20 of them. They stopped at the edge of the trees and stared at the crashed ship. One of the humans talked into a small box. Others raised their weapons. Felt her hearts beating fast, both of them. She had 2 hearts and both were full of fear. Then one human did something strange. He was young with short black hair and kind eyes. He said something to the other humans. They said something back, loud and angry sounding. But the young human ignored them. He put down his weapon. He walked forward, alone, his hands were open and empty. Watched him come closer. He was looking at her arm, at the silver blood. He stopped in front of her. He was so short. His head only came up to her shoulder, but his eyes were not scared. They were worried, worried for her. He pointed at her arm and said something. She did not understand his words, but she understood what he meant. "You are hurt." Then he did something that made want to cry. He took off his warm green jacket. He pressed it against her wound, gently, carefully, like she mattered, like her pain mattered. A stranger, from a world she did not know, helping her without asking for anything. Later learned his name was. He was a soldier. His job was to protect his country from danger. But right now, he was protecting her. More lights came, more humans, some with weapons, some with strange machines. Flying things filled the sky, making loud noises. The night became bright as day. Stayed with her the whole time. When other humans tried to take her away, he stopped them. When she fell because she was weak from blood loss, he caught her with his small human arms. She did not know his language. He did not know hers. But some things do not need words. Kindness is one of those things. That night everything changed, for Earth, for the whole galaxy. But it all started with one human soldier, taking off his jacket in the cold and pressing it against a stranger's wound. Doctor had seen many bad things in her life. She had worked in hospitals for 15 years. She had helped people who were shot, burned, and broken. She thought she knew what pain looked like. She was wrong. The shelter was a big white tent set up near the crashed ship. Inside were more than 500 hurt. They lay on beds and on the floor. Some were missing arms. Some had holes in their bodies leaking silver blood. Some were so broken that did not know how they were still alive. And she could not help them. Human medicine did not work on. Their bodies were too different. The drugs that helped humans made sick. The machines that saved human lives just beeped with confusion when connected to lavender skin. But did not give up. She worked with healers. They could not speak the same language, so they used their hands. They pointed. They drew pictures. They showed each other what to do. Slowly they learned. Blood was silver because it had different metal in it. They had two hearts, not one. Their bones were lighter but stronger than human bones. They felt pain just like humans did, but they were very good at hiding it. Learned that touched foreheads when they wanted to say thank you. She learned that they hummed when they were scared. She learned that their children had bigger eyes than adults, and those big eyes showed every feeling they had. One night she found a small girl sitting alone in a corner. The girl's name was. She was maybe 6 years old in human years. Her parents had died in the crash. Was not crying. She was just sitting there, staring at nothing, making a small humming sound that broke's heart. Sat down next to her. She did not know what to say, so she did not say anything. She just sat there. After a while, she started to hum too. A song her grandmother used to sing to her when she was small and scared. Looked at her. Those big purple eyes were so full of sadness. Kept humming. Then she started singing the words, soft and low. The words were Korean and meant nothing to the little alien girl, but the feeling was the same in any language. You are not alone, I am here, it will be okay. 6 hours later, finally fell asleep with her head on his leg. Did not move until morning, even though her whole body hurt. Some things were more important than comfort. While worked in the shelter, the world outside was going crazy. Every news channel showed the crashed ship. Every person on Earth was talking about the aliens. Some people were excited, some were scared, some were angry. Why should we help them? Some people asked. They are not human, they are not our problem. What if they are dangerous? Others said. What if they bring sickness? What if more of them come? Governments argued. Countries blamed each other. Some leaders wanted to send them away. Others wanted to lock them up. Nobody seemed to know what to do. Then Ambassador spoke. She was still weak from her injuries, but she stood before the United Nations. Hundreds of human leaders sat and watched her. Millions more watched on screens around the world. A small machine translated her words into human languages. Her voice was soft but clear. She told them about how they had lived in peace for 10,000 years, how they built beautiful cities and made wonderful art and never hurt anyone. She told them about the Dominion, the empire that took everything, that killed anyone who said no, that turned whole planets into prisons. She told them about the escape, the desperate flight, the ships full of families trying to find safety. Most of those ships were caught and destroyed. The people on them were taken to work until they died. Her voice shook when she said the next part. We did not mean to come to your world. We were lost. We were dying. Your planet was where we stopped dying. She looked at all the human faces watching her. I know we are strange to you. I know you are afraid. We are afraid too. We have lost everything, our home, our families, our future. She bowed her head. If you want us to leave, we will try, but we have nowhere to go. The Dominion will find us. They will kill us or take us. Either way, we will be gone. She stood there waiting. The whole room was silent. Then a man stood up. His name was Park. He was the person who spoke for Korea at the United Nations. He was old. His hair was white. His hands shook a little when he raised them to speak. When I was a boy, he said, my grandmother told me a story. When she was young, there was a terrible war in our country. Bombs fell. Cities burned. People died by the thousands. He paused, remembering. My grandmother walked for 300 kilometers. She had no food, no water, just the clothes she was wearing. She was sure she would die. He looked at. But she did not die because strangers helped her. People who did not know her, people who had almost nothing themselves. They shared their food. They let her sleep in their homes. They saved her life. His old voice grew strong. My grandmother always told me, the measure of a people is how they treat those who cannot help themselves. She said that kindness is what separates us from animals. He turned to the other leaders. These people have lost everything. They came to us with nothing but hope, and you want to send them away, you want to let them die. He shook his head. I do not know about your countries, but Korea will not do this. We will help them, because that is what good people do. The room exploded with noise, people shouting, arguing, some clapping. In the end, there was a vote. Not everyone said yes. Some countries still wanted the gone. But enough said yes. The could stay. When heard the news, she fell to her knees. Tears ran down her lavender face. Not sad tears, something else. She had forgotten what hope felt like. Now she remembered. That night in the shelter was teaching to play a simple human game with her hands. Clapping and singing. Kept getting it wrong, but she was laughing. It was the first time it heard a laugh. It sounded like bells ringing. Thought about what she had seen in the past weeks. The fear, the pain, the death, but also the kindness. The small moments of connection between two peoples who could not even speak to each other. She looked at its laughing face and smiled. Maybe she thought this is how things change. Not with big speeches or important votes, but with small things. A jacket on a wound, a song in the dark, a game played with a child. She did not know that danger was coming, that everything would get much worse before it got better. But right now, in this moment, there was a little alien girl laughing, and that was enough. That was everything. 3 months had passed since the crash. Things were getting better. They were learning human languages. Humans were learning about technology. The shelter had become a small town where two peoples lived together. Then everything changed again. Her name was. She was a scout, trained to work with computers and communication systems. For weeks, she had been trying to connect to galactic communication networks. She wanted to find out if any other ships had survived. One night she finally succeeded. The message she found made her blood turn cold. She ran through the camp until she found Ambassador. The ambassador was having dinner with Lieutenant. In 3 months they had become close friends, had learned to speak Korean, had learned some words. They spent many evenings talking, sharing stories about their worlds. But when burst in, all the peace disappeared. "They know," said, her voice was shaking. "The Dominion knows we are here. They tracked our last jump. They are coming." Felt like the ground had disappeared under her feet. "How long?" she asked. 6 months, maybe less. Did not understand all the words, but he understood enough. He saw the fear on his face, real fear, the kind that went down to your bones. "What is coming?" he asked. Told him. The Dominion hunting fleet, 12 warships, each one bigger than a city. They had destroyed entire civilizations. Planets that had been home to billions of people were now empty because of those ships. "They will demand you give us to them," said. "If you say no, they will destroy your world." Was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised her. "Then we say no." The news spread fast. Within days, every person on Earth knew that aliens were coming. Not peaceful refugees this time, killers, conquerors, an empire that had never lost a war. Some people panicked. Some tried to run, though there was nowhere to run to. Some said this should be given to the Dominion. Let them take what they wanted and leave Earth alone. Governments held emergency meetings. Military leaders looked at their weapons and knew they were not enough. Scientists studied technology and tried to understand things that should take years to learn. In the middle of all this chaos, ordinary people made a choice. It started small. A factory worker in Korea who said she would help build whatever was needed. A pilot in America who volunteered to fly any ship they could make. A scientist in Japan who worked 20 hours a day to understand alien engines. Then it grew. Protests filled the streets of cities around the world. Not protests against them, protests for them. "We will not give them up," the people shouted. "They are one of us now." Watched one of these protests from a window. Thousands of people carrying signs, singing songs, promising to fight for strangers from another world. Stood next to him. She still did not fully understand humans. They were so small, so fragile. Their lives were so short compared to, and yet they were willing to die for people they had just met. "Why?" she asked him. "Why would you do this? You could give us to them. You could save your world." Thought about the question. He thought about his grandfather, who had fought in a war because other countries decided his people were not worth protecting. Millions had died in that war. His grandfather carried those memories until the day he died. "Because it is right," finally said. "Because if we give you to them, we become like them. We become the kind of people who let bad things happen to others." He turned to look at her. "My grandfather used to say that courage is not about having no fear. It is about being afraid and still doing what is right." He smiled, but it was a sad smile. "We are very afraid, but we will not let fear make us into monsters." The work began immediately. Scientists shared everything they knew. They taught humans about engines that could travel between stars, about shields that could stop weapons, about materials stronger than anything on Earth. Human engineers took this knowledge and did something surprising. They made it better. Where built things to be elegant and careful, humans built things to be strong and fast. Where designed for peace, humans designed for war. Because humans, it turned out, were very good at war. They had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They had built weapons that could destroy their own world many times over. Now, for the first time, they turned all that terrible knowledge against someone else. Factories that made cars started making fighter ships. Workers who built buildings started building weapons platforms. Soldiers who had trained to fight each other started training to fight together. Doctor worked in a different way. She trained human doctors to treat wounds. because in the battle to come there would be many wounds. Little the orphan girl had been adopted by a human family, but she spent every day at the camp, helping translate between the two peoples. She was so small, but she worked harder than anyone. "Are you scared?" asked her one day. Nodded, her big purple eyes were serious. "But says that being scared is okay," she said. "He says the brave people are the ones who are scared but help anyway." She looked up at the sky, where human and engineers were testing new ships. "I want to be brave," she said, "like the humans who saved us." Hugged her tight. 6 months was not a long time. It was not nearly enough time to prepare for war against an empire that had conquered galaxies. But humans did not care about what was possible. They only cared about what needed to be done. In secret bases underground, weapons were built that should not exist yet. In the sky, defense platforms took shape like metal flowers. In training camps, human pilots learned to fly ships that used technology and human stubbornness. Ambassador watched all of this with wonder and fear. Wonder at what humans could do when they worked together. Fear at what was coming. She found late one night, sitting alone on a hill looking at the stars. "Are you ready?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, nobody is ever ready for war." He was quiet for a moment. "But we will fight anyway, because that is what humans do. We fight for the people we love, for the things we believe in." He looked at her. "And we believe in you, you and your people. You are worth fighting for." She sat down next to him. Two people from different worlds looking up at the same stars. Somewhere out there, death was coming for them. But they would face it together. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. The day the Dominion arrived, the sky turned dark. 12 ships came out of hyperspace above Earth. Each one was the size of a mountain. They blocked out the sun and cast shadows over whole countries. People looked up and felt fear like they had never felt before. In the command center deep under the Korean mountains, watched the screens. She was young for a commander, only 32 years old, but she had trained day and night for 6 months. She knew every weapon, every ship, every soldier under her command. Her hands were shaking. She did not let anyone see. The communication screen lit up. A face appeared. It was not a human face or a face. It was something else. Commander Rax of the Dominion was a massive creature. His skin was like dark green scales. His eyes were yellow with black lines down the middle. When he spoke, his voice was like rocks grinding together. "People of Earth," he said, "I am Commander Rax. I have conquered 37 worlds. I have never been defeated." He smiled. It was not a nice smile. "You have something that belongs to my empire. The refugees. Give them to us now, and we may let your species live. Refuse, and we will turn your planet to ash." He waited. Stood up. Behind her, human and officers watched in silence. Was there. They had all come to stand together. His voice was calm when she spoke. "I have a different idea," she said. "Leave our system, never come back, and maybe we will let you go home." Rax laughed. The sound was horrible, like breaking bones. "You are insects," he said. "You have had for less than 100 years. We have ruled the stars for 10,000. You cannot fight us." Smiled. It was not a nice smile either. "Then come and prove it." Rax's yellow eyes went narrow with anger. He ended the call. 30 seconds later, the first Dominion weapons fired. The battle started in space. Human ships, small and fast, flew up to meet the giant Dominion vessels. They were called mosquito fighters because that was what they were, tiny things attacking giants. But mosquitoes can bite. Human pilots flew like crazy people. They went so fast and turned so sharp that the Dominion gunners could not hit them. They found weak spots in the big ships and fired everything they had. The first Dominion ship to die was hit by a human pilot named. He flew his tiny ship straight into the engine of the giant vessel. He knew he would not survive. He did it anyway. The explosion was bright enough to see from Earth. More pilots followed him. Some lived, many did not, but each one made the Dominion pay. On the ground, it was worse. Dominion soldiers landed in drop ships. They were big, strong, and covered in armor that stopped most human weapons. They had been told that conquering Earth would be easy. They were wrong. Human soldiers fought them in cities, in forests, in mountains. They used traps and tricks that the Dominion had never seen. They hid and attacked and ran and attacked again. They never stopped. Fighters stood with them. For the first time in 10,000 years, picked up weapons and fought. They were not good at it. War was not in their nature. But they learned. Led a group of soldiers, and together, they were protecting a hospital full of wounded people. Dominion troops were coming from all directions. "We cannot win this," said one of his soldiers. "Then we lose fighting," said. "We do not give up, we do not run, we stand." They stood. The battle lasted 2 hours at that hospital. When it ended, half of people were dead, but the hospital was safe. Not one wounded person inside was hurt. On the third day, Ambassador came to the front lines. She should not have been there. She was a diplomat, not a soldier, but she could not sit safely while others died for her people. She found in a destroyed building, trying to fix his weapon. "You should not be here," he said. "Neither should you," she answered. "You should be safe. You should have given us to them." He looked at her with tired eyes. "I already told you why we did not do that." A sound came from outside. Dominion soldiers were close. Saw movement behind. A Dominion assassin hidden in the shadows, raising a weapon. She did not think, she just moved. Her body pushed to the side. The plasma blast hit her shoulder instead of his chest. Silver blood flew in the air. Shot the assassin, then he caught as she fell. "Why did you do that?" he shouted. "Why?" She smiled weakly. "Because you saved my life once, with a jacket and kindness. I had to pay you back." She closed her eyes, held her and called for help. He did not leave her side for 3 days. The battle went on. By the 9th day, both sides were breaking. 8 Dominion ships were destroyed. The other 4 were badly damaged. But Earth's defenses were almost gone too. Most of the human fleet was destroyed. Thousands of soldiers and pilots were dead. In the command center, looked at her options. They were running out. Then something unexpected happened. Commander Rax sent a message. Not a demand, a question. "How?" he asked. His voice was not angry anymore, it was confused. "You should have lost in the first hour. How are you still fighting?" Thought about the answer. She thought about the pilots who flew into enemy ships, the soldiers who held their ground until death, the people who had nothing but refused to give up. "Because you made a mistake," she said. "You thought we were weak because we are small, because our lives are short, because we only just reached the stars." She leaned forward. "But the truth is, we are strong because of those things. We know our time is short, so we make every moment count. We know we are small, so we fight harder. We know we are new to the stars, so we have everything to prove." She stood up straight. "You have conquered people who could not fight back. You never learned what to do when someone stands and fights, when someone says no and means it." She pointed at him. "We are humans, we say no, and we mean it." Rax stared at her for a long moment. Then, for the first time in his life, he gave an order he had never given before. "All ships retreat," he said. "We are leaving." The 4 remaining Dominion ships turned and flew away. They jumped into hyperspace and were gone. The command center was silent for a moment. Then everyone started screaming and crying and hugging each other. They had won. Against all odds, against an empire that had never been defeated, humans had won. Sat down slowly. Her legs were shaking, her hands were shaking, everything was shaking. An officer came to her. He touched his forehead to hers, the way of saying thank you. "You saved us," he said. Your whole species saved us. Shook her head. We saved each other, she said. That is what friends do. Outside on a planet that had almost died, people were looking up at the sky. The shadows were gone. The sun was shining again. And somewhere in a hospital bed, opened her eyes to find still holding her hand. Did we win? She asked weakly. He smiled. There were tears on his face. Yes, he said, we won. She smiled back. Good, she said, that is good. Then she closed her eyes and slept. A real sleep this time, the sleep of someone who was finally safe. 1 year had passed since the battle. The world was different now, not just Earth, the whole galaxy. When the Dominion fleet ran away from Earth, the news spread to every corner of space. Other species who had been conquered and enslaved heard what happened. They heard that a small, unknown planet had done the impossible. They heard that someone had finally said no. And then they started saying no too. Rebellions broke out on 12 Dominion worlds in the first month, then 20, then 50. The empire that had ruled for thousands of years was cracking. It would take time, but it would fall. Everyone knew that now. On Earth, humans worked together to rebuild. Cities that had been damaged were fixed. Families who had lost people found ways to go on. The wounds of war slowly began to heal. The place where the ship had crashed was now a memorial park. Trees had been planted there, both human trees and plants brought from seeds saved before their world died. Purple and green grew side by side. On the walls of the memorial, names were carved into stone. Every person who died in the battle, human names and names together. They had died as one people, so they were remembered as one people. Ambassadors stood at the front of a great hall. World leaders from every country sat before her. Cameras sent her image to billions of people around the world. Her shoulder still hurt sometimes where the plasma blast had hit her. The doctors said she would always have a scar. She did not mind. Scars tell stories. She began to speak. 1 year ago, my people crashed on your world. We were broken. We were dying. We had nothing but fear and sadness. She paused, looking at the faces before her. We expected you to turn us away. In the galaxy we came from, that is what happens. The strong take from the weak. The powerful crush those who cannot fight back. We had never known anything else. She smiled. But you surprised us. She told them about the first night. About a young soldier who took off his jacket to help a stranger. About a doctor who sang to a crying child. About ordinary people who chose kindness when they could have chosen fear. These seem like small things, said. A jacket, a song, a warm meal shared with someone different from you. They seem like nothing against the darkness of the universe. Her voice grew stronger. But they are not nothing, they are everything, because those small things grew, they became something bigger, they became friendship, they became trust, they became an army of two peoples fighting together against impossible enemies. She looked at the people in the hall. Some were human, some were. After a year, it was sometimes hard to remember who was who. They worked together, they lived together, some of them had even fallen in love. The galaxy has been ruled by those who take, those who conquer, those who make others into slaves. For 10,000 years this was the only way. She raised her head high. But Earth showed another way. You showed that there is power in helping others, strength in kindness, victory in standing together. She turned to face the cameras, speaking now to everyone watching. The Dominion is falling. Other species are rising up. Ships from 12 different worlds have asked to come to Earth, not to conquer, not to take, to ask for help, to ask if they can be part of what we have built here. She smiled. We will say yes to all of them, because that is what we do now. We do not turn people away. We do not let fear make our choices. We open our doors and our hearts and we face the future together. In the audience, sat with his family. Was there sitting right next to him. They had gotten married 6 months ago. A human and a joined together. Some people thought it was strange. Most people thought it was beautiful. On his other side sat. She was 8 years old now, and had adopted her together. She called them and the Korean words for father and mother. When looked at his family, he sometimes could not believe it was real. A year ago, he was just a soldier standing in the snow, watching a strange ship burn in the mountains. Now he had a wife from another world and a daughter with purple skin and big eyes that sparkled when she laughed. Life was strange. Life was wonderful. After the ceremony, there was a celebration. People ate food and danced and laughed. Human music and music played together, mixed into something new. Doctor found near the edge of the crowd. I remember when I found her, said, looking at playing with other children. She would not stop crying. I thought she would never smile again. They watched laugh as she ran around with human and children. Look at her now, said, look at all of them. Nodded, it is more than I ever hoped for. It is because of you, you know, you started all this, when you took off your jacket that night. Shook his head, I just did what anyone would do. Smiled, no, you did what a good person would do. There is a difference, not everyone would have made that choice. She touched his shoulder. But enough people did, and that is why we are here. Later that night and stood on a balcony looking up at the stars. Was asleep, tired from all the excitement. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we crashed somewhere else? Asked. If we had not found Earth. Thought about it. You would probably be dead or enslaved. Yes, said. I think about that sometimes, how lucky we were, how one wrong turn and everything would be different. She leaned against him. But I also think about something else. I think that maybe in the whole galaxy there are other species like humans, other peoples who would help strangers, who would stand up against evil. We just had not found them yet. She looked at him. Maybe you humans are not special. Maybe kindness is everywhere, just waiting for a chance to grow. Smiled. Maybe, but I think humans are a little special. We are stubborn. We do not give up even when we should. He put his arm around her. And we love very deeply, even when it makes no sense, even when it is hard, we love anyway. Touched her forehead to his, the way of showing love. Yes, she said, that is true, you love very deeply. Above them, the stars were shining. Somewhere out there, other peoples were looking up at those same stars. Some of them were fighting for freedom. Some of them were finding hope for the first time. And some of them were already on their way to Earth, looking for shelter, looking for help, looking for the small, stubborn planet that had changed everything. Earth would welcome them all. That was the promise humans had made, not just to they, but to the whole universe. We will help you, we will stand with you, we will face the darkness together. In the end, that was what made humans special, not their weapons or their technology or their short, fragile lives. It was their hearts, big hearts full of love for people they had never met. Ambassador thought about all of this as she stood with her husband under the stars. There is a phrase your people use, she said, about lights in darkness. What is it? Smiled. It is better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. Nodded slowly. That is what humans do. You light candles. She looked up at the endless sky. And now the whole galaxy is on fire. She meant it as a good thing. A fire of hope. A fire of change. A fire that would burn away the old ways and make room for something new. Somewhere in space, another ship full of refugees was flying toward Earth. They had heard the stories. They had heard about the humans who helped strangers. They were coming home. They just did not know it yet. And on Earth, in houses and shelters and cities all over the world, humans and lived together. They ate together. They worked together. They raised children together. They had shown the galaxy what was possible. Now it was time to show the galaxy what came next. The story was not over. It was just beginning.